Hear from you later. Boy Scouts,
Yeah, so this Boy Scout Troop 3.
Come up to the microphone.
come on up to the microphone. We'll put you in on public comments.
All right.
If you want, very good. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and your group.
All right. I'm Andrew Georgie, and I'm representing Boy Scout Troop 353. We're based here in Bennington. We're just here to complete a requirement for a Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. We're just here to observe and to participate if we feel that it's necessary. So, thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome, yes, very good. Are you going to sit through the whole ordeal? We're more than happy to have you stay, and if you have questions, you can, hopefully we can answer some of them afterwards.
All right.
Very good, welcome. You can move. We can-
Comment.
Yes, I'm sorry. Nick.
Okay. We do have teacher negotiations going on,
Right.
so I have talked to Cat TV, and I also talked to Richard Bump, and saying that they are going to be open. I don't know if the teachers realize that. Somebody should, whether the
Yeah,
chair or
yeah.
somebody, do that, so
Yeah.
they make sure that there's no surprises, and we've already given our proposal, we're waiting for one from them, so just so everybody knows, that's what's going on, there's no, well, we
Right.
didn't know anything about it, so
Right,
just,
they're well aware of that. It will be similar to what we have done in the last year
okay,
or so.
no, that's fine.
And we will have caucuses, which
Right.
are times when we can
Right.
meet without the
Right,
public.
right.
Anything else, Fran?
No, that's it, I just wanted to make
Sure.
sure that Cat TV.
Okay, we can move on then. The first item is the warning of the budget for the next fiscal year. And Renee, why don't I let you take the lead on this?
Okay. So what's coming around now
Why don't we wait till, get it
is
right.
also online, so folks that are watching at home, if they go to the SVSU website, you can go to boards and current MAU board docs. You'll be able to see what the board is looking at here this evening. So we've met, the Finance Committee and I have met 3 times over the past several weeks. And the version that you have in front of you is slightly different, therefore it's labeled draft number 4. First page is the overall expenditures by budget category, and just so you know, on the very last page of your packet is a narrative that kind of highlights. So I'm not going to go over each of these lines in great detail because I can assure you that your Finance Committee has gone through it. But just in general, we have taken into account that we have 2 collective bargaining agreements currently under negotiations. We looked at staffing and were able to remove 2 positions through attrition, so no one is actually going to be riffed through this budget if we're able to get it passed. We have an increase for the mid-shift custodial position that the board approved a couple of months ago, if you recall that, so we've got that built into the budget going forward. And we've also added a school adjustment counselor. The benefit increase you see there is mainly being driven by the VHI rate. So VHI is the Vermont Education Health Initiative. They manage our health and dental rates. The rates that they have proposed to the Department of Finance and Regulation at the state range from slightly over a 3% increase to an 11.8% increase, and that 11.8% plan is the one that 90% of our staff is enrolled in. So that's driving that increase. A decrease to contracted services is mainly attributable to a drop in a UCS clinician. Our building operations and maintenance, we're anticipating sewer increases due to the Bennington bond that was passed, as well as insurance rate increases as well. Capital projects, we have a number of things planned for next year. And just to name a couple, including the auditorium roof at the high school, visitor bleachers, and then working on the turn lane here at the left, or the right turn lane as you're coming into the middle school. And then just some other minor highlights. The supplies increase that we're seeing there is a portion of that is attributable to software. And then some team uniforms need to be updated, so we've got that built into the budget. The equipment increase is for high jump equipment. The assessments that we have in this budget are set, so the SVSU budget was approved, and we have our final FY18 audit, so any of those fund balances have been applied to that, and those assessments applied here to this budget. And what's mainly driving the increase you're seeing there on assessments is special education and our transportation increase and our base contract. Tuition is the Career Development Center. The debt service is our bond payments, which is a decrease. So we have some of our bonds have actually been refinanced. So we're getting money back on those, but we still clearly have significant payments that we're making on them. And then the decrease to dues and fees is attributable to the Vermont School Board Association fees now being assessed to the SVSU. So that's coming actually back through your budget and through an assessment. So overall, we're looking at a 3.74% increase. A couple of things I wanted to note is that last year we had a decrease in our budget of 3.59%. So just taking that into account when looking at these numbers here tonight. We have $150,000 slated to go into a revenue or a reserve fund. And so if you flip to, well, the second page in your packet is basically the same information, but it's just divided.
Where's that 150,000 listed?
It's coming off of your fund balance and your revenue.
Okay.
And the decrease that we're seeing from draft 3 is about $16,400, and that's attributable to the CDC tuition. We actually received yesterday afternoon from the Agency of Education the career technical education full-time equivalent numbers. We had used the FY19 numbers, so they actually dropped a little bit, so that allowed us to decrease the figure for the tuition. So the third page in your packet is the revenue. And I do have in bold the general state support grant. So this is the number that really drives the tax rate. So we take our expenditure budget, which is what we'll be asking the board to approve tonight, and we'll be asking the voters to approve. But the tax rate is actually generated on those expenditures less any revenues we have. So here's the revenue. And anything that we're not able to offset through the revenue then has to come from the general state support grant, which is basically the demand on the education fund from the state. So you can see that's an increase of 4.39%. And again, so the line right above that you can see is a decrease from FY19's budget to FY20, because that's $150,000 that we have going into that reserve fund. So the tax rate impact, and again, these are just estimates at this point because the number that is highlighted on your sheets, but highlighted in yellow on the screen, is based on the tax commissioner's recommendation to the legislature for FY20. They do anticipate that the education fund is going to be healthy because they have actually changed the way that they're funding the ed fund. Next year, it'll be the Vermont state sales and use tax. All of that money will be going to the education fund, and a portion of rooms and meals tax will be going into that fund. So in the past 2 years, they've been anticipating going into the following year with a deficit. They don't anticipate that going forward. They also took an informal poll of what they were thinking the average tax increase, or I'm sorry, the average budget increases were going to be across the state. And the figure that the tax commissioner landed on was an estimated increase of 3.24%. So you can see that we, with this budget, are asking from the ed fund 4.39% increase. So that is slightly over what the tax commissioner has recommended, or based the recommendation on. If across the state, they're coming in higher than 3.24%, that will likely drive that 10,666 number down, which would then drive the tax rates up. But unfortunately, this is determined well after budgets are voted on. So this is the best information we have at this time. But overall, you can see comparatively to FY19, the base tax rate is actually a decrease thanks to the increase in that property yield. And the number that everybody probably really wants to look at is going to be the next page in your packet, and what I have up here on the screen. Again, this is on the website. If folks at home probably can't see it on the screen. But these are estimates based as of today's budgets, and equalized pupils as of Monday was the last version 6 we received from the Agency of Education. So with the budget you have in front of you, that gets blended with the elementary budgets based on the percentages of students at the elementary or secondary levels. And if you just look at the line number 14, that is going to show you what the estimated increases or decreases are to the tax rates for the various municipalities. So I can just read them off in case you can't see them at this point. Bennington is a 0.5 cent increase. North Bennington is about a 0.8 cent decrease. The Shaftesbury ID district is 4/10,000ths of a decrease, 4/10,000ths of a penny. The Pownell district is about a 3 cent increase. Shaftesbury is almost a 2 cent increase, and Woodford about a penny. And that is what I have for you.
Yes.
This line that says reduction of 2 teaching positions for nutrition, is that the tech class teachers?
Yes.
Yes. And remember, my concern was that we had a half credit tech requirement, graduation requirement, and if they only have 1 teacher teaching, are our students going to be able to fulfill that requirement?
Yeah, so the CDC board met and they will be hiring a graphic design teacher. So it will be, the class offerings will still be there through the CDC.
So CDC has to hire a teacher. Why don't we hire a teacher, I guess is my question.
It's cost savings to this district because it's only going to be an increase to us through our tuition.
I'm a little slow. Why is them hiring the CDC, that teacher is cheaper than a high school teacher?
There are other districts that pay into their tuition too.
Okay.
There's other districts, and the state reimbursement to the CDC per FTE is a little bit higher than what it would be for MAU.
Okay.
So in the long run, it's a tiny little percentage cheaper to do
Okay.
it that way.
And our students will be able to take the classes they need. All right.
I think you bring up a good point, Dave, and I think we have to be very, very sure that if the CDC is going to take on some of these classes, that the availability of MAU students to take those classes is not decreased. And I think that's one of my concerns. So the schedules work out that they can do it. Obviously, it's easier if that class is an MAU class. But it is something, just to let people know, what happened was that when this concept first came up, it was decided by the Finance Committee meeting that the principal of the CDC, the principal of the high school, and the superintendent would meet and work out a solution that they felt was in the best interest of the kids. But I do think it's something that we should all keep a very close eye on. Yes?
Well, historically, the courses, 2 courses that are being moved were originally in the CDC when the CDC was under MAU. And during the process after the separation, after the CDC became a separate school district, they wound up, the teachers went to MAU and they wound up there.
Right. I happen to know what some of the reasons for that were, but anyway, this is what we're going to do, and we're keeping a good eye on it. Anybody else have any questions on that? I think as the Finance Committee and the administration were going over this budget, one of the things that we considered absolutely essential is that we were not depriving either the high school or the middle school, or for that matter, the CDC, of any essentials that the administrators felt they needed to be able to give the programs that they wanted to give to the kids. And that dealt with a whole range of classes, everything from those kids that needed extra help, as well as those kids who needed an extra challenge. And it was presented to each of those administrators very personally that the question was asked, do you have what you need to be able to run the school efficiently? And the answer was yes. So, if there are no other questions, I need a motion to accept the proposed budget for the fiscal year of 2000.
So moved.
We have a second. Any further?
I have one quick question, just so I understand. Why did the School to Work program had a pretty healthy increase in the budget? What did, and I was just trying to understand why that had almost a 20% increase in its budget. And it's not to imply it's not justified, I just wondered why.
Where?
What page?
It's on page 2.
That was a change in benefits, elections of employees that have entered into that
Okay.
department.
And once again, these are estimates, and as Renee has stated, we really will not have the final figures from the state as to what our tax rate will be until who knows when, but it usually isn't until May almost before we have an actual. But they shouldn't vary that much unless there is something catastrophic that happens. So don't
changes.
don't count on this 100%, but it's damn close. So we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. We have a few other things here. We need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed or abstentions? Very good. Budget status is for your information. Donation of the Win Bend charities. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure what that is.
It's a 500.
It's $5,000 that we actually received 2 years ago, too. It's just a charitable contribution, and with the letter, they would like it to be used for athletics.
For athletics. Do we acknowledge that letter? Do we have somebody expressing our appreciation for that gift?
Yes.
We do have somebody that says that. Very good. Okay.
So move that we accept.
Well, so we need,
Move we accept the donation.
okay, we have a motion to
Second.
accept. Have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Okay, we can move on then. We have another one, the Exxon Mobil Educational Alliance Grant. And I do remember that, but maybe Renee, you could give some more specifics.
Yep, it's something that actually I think started at the middle school years ago and has moved up for whatever reason. They're donating now to the high school, and it is to be used specifically for math or science to support either of those areas of
Very
study.
good. And how is that allocated? Is that done through the business office, or how are those funds
Yeah,
distributed?
the administration reaches out to both the department heads at the high school to see if they have any needs. I think last year, they did divide it evenly between the two departments for small supply.
And again, do we have somebody that expresses our appreciation for that to somebody?
We can do that between the two of us, yeah.
Okay, just, I think it's important that we, acknowledge that gift and make people realize that we appreciate it.
Will do.
Very good. Let's see, did we have a motion for that yet or not? I don't-
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second, third.
All in favor? Signify by saying aye. Opposed or abstentions? Very good.
That was the consent, right?
No, that was the Exxon, the other
I'm ready
gift.
for the next.
We're moving on to the next consent agenda. Fran,
I'll move it.
have a second?
Yes, second.
Second, okay.
I have-
Yes.
I have a comment.
Yeah, good.
On the field trip Quebec City request, one of the names of a, number 8, the chaperone number 8, it should read Todd Kobick, T-O-D Kobick, not John Kobick. And the two teachers are aware of that, and I said I'd mention it.
Yep, you
in the
did.
meeting.
Gave me a call and I
So,
said, that's fine. Just let
It's
the
changed
board-
on their paperwork, it just wasn't changed here.
Very good. Does anybody have any? Yes?
I have a quick question. To cross the border now with Homeland Security, don't you need a passport or?
They don't, no.
No, just a driver's license.
Most of the kids don't.
Birth certificate, driving license.
Some of them travel with passports and some don't.
Okay, so are there any other concerns on the
A
consent?
couple of those retirements,
Yeah.
those folks have been with us a long time. Are we going
Well, that's a
to
good,
send a letter of
yeah,
thank
we
you, et cetera?
certainly should do that. The clerk and I have gotten together to do this, and we will do it. Specifically, what are you thinking of, Dave?
Well, I know that the woman that just took our picture has been with us for 36 years, and I think Barb Ackerman's been with us a fair amount of time.
Sure.
Beyond that, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Well, certainly Judy and should receive some recognition for,
And didn't we at last year's,
yes.
so we should do that again, and it was a
Yeah,
certain,
we'll do that again. I just,
25 years or
Yeah.
something that, okay.
and we decided a protocol, and I can't really remember what that protocol was. And what we did last year was, after a certain number of years of service, we gave those individuals a gift, and we presented that gift at a time when the faculty was having their annual get-together.
Last day of school.
Right? Is that about right?
Didn't you form a committee to decide what the gift was going to be?
No.
And we just did it.
I was committee of one.
Yeah. It was easier,
We just said to build it, Tim.
and I sent it to Jim.
Hey, committee of one gets a lot more done.
That's right. Very good. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Dave. Are there any other comments concerning the consent agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. We can move down into policy. Rob is not here today, so Leon, I guess you want to take it over?
We have proficiency-based learning policy. This is the actual policy in place, and that's what's out to the boards to review in terms of a warning. And that's policy number 5016, and it's a required policy now. So unless somebody has any questions or comments, it adds, it's just as it's written. This is a basic policy set in place so that we'll have administrative rigs to be worked on following the policy.
Are there any questions on it? If not, I take a motion
I'll
to
move it for warning.
have a second. We have a warning. Very good. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Abstentions or noes? Very good. We can move on then to administrators' report. Steve?
Thank you. I have to apologize this evening. Last month, you asked us to do an overview of discipline at the high school, and unfortunately, Dave Barrio came down with the flu. So I apologize for Dave getting the flu, and we will have that report for you next month, if that is okay. I would just like to touch on December 1st, we sent students with Mason Mills, our music teacher at the high school, to the New England Music Festival. And I thought it was important to acknowledge that Logan Haley, who is the flute player in the band at the high school, received the position of first chair flute at this festival, which technically puts him in the position of being the best flute player at the festival. And he was also given a solo at the festival, which is a high honor at the festival. So I think Logan needs to be acknowledged for that. Next up, they're going to the district festival at St. Joseph's up in Rutland. And he has already been chosen as first chair flute for that festival as well. So he's done a great job with that. I'd like to let you know that our second semester at the high school starts on January 28th. That will be followed on February 15th by our second open house of the year, so parents can come into the high school again. They'll have their students' second semester schedule, and at that point, they can go around the high school and speak with all the teachers that their child has. We are in our winter map testing window. The window runs from January 7th through February 1st, and so we are in the process of testing right now at the high school. And as far as scheduling is concerned, guidance has been busy doing scheduling. They are currently processing the current 8th graders for entrance into 9th grade for placement. The number they gave me is we have 247 incoming freshmen next year. And between February 4th and February 15th, there will be individualized meetings between 8th grade students and their parents, one-on-one with the guidance counselors. The rising seniors have already selected their schedules. They are being reviewed by guidance, and those finalized schedules will be sent home for parental review. The rising juniors begin their selection process next week, and then the rising sophomores will follow the freshman parent meetings, and they will select the first week of March. And the last thing for guidance, they will be scheduling over 800 meetings with every student in the building to review their personalized learning plan, and a letter will be sent home to parents inviting them to take part in the PLP review with their guidance counselor. So that's what I have, and again, I apologize that we weren't able to do the report for you. However, we have a different report for you, and I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Hoyt, our athletic director.
I have the fall athletics report. As a whole, we had just under 250 students participating in a fall sport, at least 50 students from each grade, and the freshmen led the way with 64 participating student athletes. We had 14 teams, which included football, field hockey, soccer, cross country, running, golf, cheerleading, and volleyball. And of those student athletes on those 14 teams, just under 60% made honor roll, high honor roll, or principal's honors, which is for the first quarter, which is great. All the teams, with the exception of field hockey and football, made playoffs. The varsity girls soccer team did the most damage, making it to the quarterfinal round and losing to a tough Colchester team. As a whole, the fall teams combined for a win percentage of just under 500. And the individual sports, cross country and golf, had respectable seasons, sending one golfer to sectionals, and cross country locked up first place at the MBL cross country state meet, and had the opportunity to send a runner to New England's. All programs have great returning numbers for next year, with the exception of field hockey. Field hockey as a whole in the state of Vermont is really struggling right now to retain numbers, especially with volleyball becoming more popular all around the state. We made it through the fall without any red cards, player or coaches ejections, and our sportsmanship, as always, was at a very high, respectable level. Every team had multiple members named to all league, all state, and all senior games, which was great. And all coaches had a written evaluation from me, and I held an end of the season meetings with each coach, just waiting to finish up on a couple with schedule conflicts. And lastly, spectator attendance, if you happen to come to a game this year, was up really big this year. And at the end of the fall season last year compared to this year, we were almost at $4,000 more in gate receipts for revenue. So attendance is way up for us, which is great. And as expected for next year, our team should be, growing and getting better and improving. So hopefully that trend continues.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ashley on any of this?
I have a question.
Yeah, Joe.
Ashley, are the freshman numbers usually higher coming in from the middle school?
They're not really, no. Usually with the transition, some kids tend to maybe take a season off just to transition into high school. So it was really great to see high participation numbers for the freshman class. Yeah, so it was good.
Are they the same students that were participating in the same sport or activity here at the middle school?
Is it the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right around the same. So the middle school had just around 200 kids participating. We, like I said, we had, 7th grade teams, 8th grade teams for each sport. So the numbers are great. I know a lot of the high school coaches are really looking forward to the 8th grade class that's here now coming up because they're a very athletic, high participation number class. So we're looking forward to have them coming up next year.
Any other questions for Ashley? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I just want to say it's been great that the middle school has been invited to ski with the Nordic team. Yeah. That's something that's really, I think, just... Yep, and Nordic's been great.
Yeah.
Their participation numbers between both schools is almost at 60 kids. So,
Yeah.
we're going to be looking into, providing them with their own middle school coach in the future.
Oh, wow.
Because it's great participation right now at the
Yeah.
middle school, and we want to keep that.
Oh,
We want
terrific.
to keep those numbers high, so.
Good.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. It's nice to have you here giving us a report.
Thank you.
Steve, I have one question for you concerning college admissions for the students and the application process. Is there, I know it's a big topic, and I don't want to get into it, but maybe if Dave doesn't take up too much time, you could just brief us on the general role that guidance in the high school plays in helping these kids apply to college, everything from the proper college as to how to take full advantage of any financial aid that would be available.
Sure, we can do it.
That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, any other questions of Steve? Tim?
Thank you. I just wanted, since the last time we met, I wanted to thank a couple of teachers, Matt Edwards and Rebecca Mills. They are the music teachers here at the middle school. Matt leads the chorus. Rebecca's our first-year teacher at the band. Their performance groups this year have been able to meet as a group and rehearse every day. And so they presented their first concert December 17th for the chorus and December 18th for the band. And really impressed. The preparation by the kids, the attendance was great. And probably even more satisfying was to hear from parents after the performance and on social media saying how wonderful the performances were. So I just want to say thank you to both those instructors who are doing a nice job with really big groups. Since we last met, we've had our third snow day, one of which showed up last week while we started our map testing window. So we got one day in and then we got wiped out by a snow day. So yesterday we took our second day of map testing. For folks who've been following, you know that the middle school gives the map test 3 times a year, once in the fall, once in the winter, and once in the spring. We're hoping to take a look at that results in our professional development day in early February. We do have a couple of professional days that will impact students coming up. A reminder to families that January the 25th, which is next Friday, is a full day for teachers, but students will be staying home. So if the kids are telling you they don't have school, they're telling you the truth. February the 8th is a half day for students. Teachers will be here in the afternoon with professional development, but students on the 8th will be released at 11:15 a.m. for parents who are planners. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Tim? Okay, if there are none, we can move on then. I spoke with Dave Durfee, as you know, of the Education Committee, and he has been very active in it in a long time. He was recently elected to the legislature and will not be able to attend some of the meetings and do some of the work that is required or it falls under the general parameters of the Education Committee. So I've asked Amy Dobson to assist him in bringing those things that should be considered by the board to the board, and thankfully she has said she would do that. So we will move on from there. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, that's good. So there is no other report. We can go down to student representatives, Sharon.
Good evening. So, first semester is almost ending, and next week is our final exam week at the high school. The school has give us Tuesdays for review day and planning day. Wednesday and Thursday will be exam for block 1 and 3 on Wednesday, and block 2 and 4 will be on Thursday. And students and teachers are both preparing for the exam. We have review packets. We have after-school help. So if any students or parents find out that they're struggling with like materials, don't feel hesitate to contact your teacher or school, and they'll happily to help you with that and go through this first semester and move to a new semester on the 28th. So last week, the high school held junior experiences with people from different careers and colleges. So all juniors are invited, and they sit around in small groups with others and learn about their future plan, maybe college, maybe military, and maybe a job. And seniors also had some similar experiences with that, so the sophomores. So I believe that everybody in high school will have some sort of insight towards their future after high school, and the school will continue to help us to get more experiences with those. In the past 2 months, the National Honor Society has raised many bags of candies and baked goods to send to local food shelters. And that's the tradition for National Honor Society for every year, because our society is committed to help others around town and make people who don't have many food materials have a better life. So we're in the middle of the winter season, and we just had the wrestling tournaments over the break. I talked to wrestlers and talked to Miss Hoyt. It went great. They were first place wrestlers, and there were students' bodies right there, and it was a great turnout. And this incoming Saturday, we have a Nordic ski race in Prospect Mountain and dance competition in the high school gym. So for the Nordic ski team, as Mrs. Dobson already mentioned, middle school have a chance to race, competing with other schools around here, and they can get a taste of like Nordic ski, how the race works, and maybe move on to the team in high school when they become older and go to high school. In the past couple weeks, the band held a winter concert, and it was a great turnout. Students from the band, from the chorus, enjoyed their time. The audience had a fun time listening to them, and they are looking forward to making more concerts, like such a pop concert in the spring, and bring more people coming and share the concert spirit with the town. And the school is also working on the Romeo and Juliet production that's coming up in February. And they're rehearsing every day and trying to make a team cohesion with each other, and hope to bring a tremendous play to the audience in February. And the date's in middle of February, and they're hoping that they'll have a great turnout for our audience. And the chorus is also working on a British Invasion concert that was a tradition many years ago, and this year they invited students, faculties, alumni from the school, from the town to join, and they're hoping to bring the tradition back and let everybody experience a British Invasion concert. And it's also a good opportunity for people to present, to show their talents, and that will be held on January 26th in high school. And the last thing will be mix-up day. So the Student Senate has developed a mix-up day for students through grade 9 through 12. And what we do is students will have a chance to make new friends in different locations of high school, such as the cafeteria, the library, the CDC Altron, where people have lunch. And this intention of making this day because we don't want students just hang out with like the group of friends. We want to expand the student body with other people, and especially through like ninth grade and 12th grade, maybe they can make friends together. So there's that, and thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Leon?
Don't have a question, but I just want to thank both the high school and the middle school and the student council representative for making sure one of the things that we talked about is making an effort to have all of the students get additional help if they need it. And to say that out openly, it should be no students running around anywhere that says they can't do something or didn't understand something with the classroom, because they've made available for all of the teachers and the students to help each other during the time that they need, and to make sure that all of them are doing good in their classes. And thanks.
Very good. Any other questions?
I have one
Yes, yeah,
comment under
yeah.
other if we're to,
We're not there yet.
when it comes up.
Well, when it comes
Well, I know
up,
you
I
move
won't
fast.
forget you.
You move fast at times.
Well, slow me up if you think it needs some slowing up. Superintendent's report?
Pass something out to you. I'll get around to you. This is a proposal for changing the substitute teacher rate. The last board that we're presented to, it is passed, first presented to the SU, the overlapping board, they voted it. Pownell voted it earlier tonight. All the previous, other boards have voted previously. We haven't changed the rates since probably 2008, somewhere around there. And we are experiencing difficulty getting substitute teachers in many of our schools. We hope that this is a move towards getting that. And then some of the lower ends, we are barely above minimum wage, as was pointed out to us at another school. So I'm asking that this board would make a motion and support us changing the substitute rates. From a budget point of view, it has no impact this year. You are below the rates that you are, the rates you're spending sub money, you're below what you have budgeted. And, this has probably less impact on the high school because the high school does a lot of sub-coverage internally, paying teachers from within that department to cover classes. That works well for them. But in our, you do not have to vote this approval. It will make a nightmare for HR if we have substitutes paid at different rates throughout the district, and it may even have a bigger impact on getting substitutes at the high school and middle school if the rate is different in other. This was driven, by the way, not only did we not raise our rate, but our sub-callers had continuously heard that, people, well, they're paying more at Hoosick Falls, or where's our friends from the CDC? This brings us in line with the CDC rates. So we would hear from people when we'd call that, well, the CDC's paying this, when are you guys going to go up on your rates? So, asking for your consideration.
Very good. Is there any discussion on this?
I'd like to move it so we can
Okay,
have a
let me-
discussion.
Second.
And so, now you,
Go ahead.
the current, you said current SVSU rate, this is for all of the teachers in SVSU, just Mount Anthony and middle school, this is gonna be an SVSU wide.
This will be SVSU wide.
Okay.
If you voted, everyone has voted but Mount Anthony.
Okay.
So we have another motion, have an official motion for this to accept the proposal?
I will make the motion.
Very good. Do we have a second for
I
it?
did.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay, well, as long as we get it, as long as we got it on the records, Richard was, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. Jim?
The other item is, your next meeting is scheduled to be February 20th, which is during the middle of winter break. I don't know what availability would be. I will tell you that our records show that this board did not meet in February last year. Many of the boards don't meet in February because your budget is done, and your next action will come after the town meetings in March. So I don't know what the wish of the committee is this year. Do you want to find an alternative date to one during vacation week, or not to have a meeting in February?
I would propose not having a meeting unless a situation presents itself where we will have a meeting, and we can always call a meeting under under the proper guidelines.
You could do a special meeting.
We can have a special meeting if we need one. And we have authority to sign any documents that needed to be signed, warrants and that sort of thing.
So
So
moved.
that shouldn't be a problem.
I'll move it.
Okay, Leon? Have a second?
Second.
All right.
And a third.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good.
And the other item I want to talk briefly a little about Act 46. I know that some of you feel that it doesn't impact this board, but it could. So I will give you an update of where we are. As you know, Pownell Pownell Board, maybe you don't know, voted to join the lawsuit that's going on in the state, challenging the mergers under Act 46. So that has put a halt to what we were supposed to have a organizational meeting of the new Unified Elementary School District known as the Southwest Vermont Union Elementary School District. That was supposed to be held last night. We canceled that meeting because the agreement between the plaintiffs and the Attorney General for the state of Vermont, it was to delay any of those organizational meetings till after February 15th to allow time for both sides to see if the legislature is going to take any action or to see if the court is going to issue an injunction that would stop all of the forced mergers. So we're on hold with that until after the 15th. We're tentatively looking for Tuesday, the 26th of February, to have that next organizational meeting. Because the week right after the 15th is, again, February school vacation, so we don't think attendance would be that well. But what we've recently been instructed to do, along with getting all our budgets ready, now the finance office and the superintendent's office are going to have to work. We're going to go a parallel path. We are going, at the same time that we are working for this organizational meeting, we are going to go back and warn all individual budgets for the 4 forming districts, Bennington, Shasbury, Woodford, and Pownell, and have those ready for the March town meeting, kind of as our backup plan in case there is an injunction. Because if there is an injunction, then in all probability, those 4 elementary school districts will operate next year as independent school districts, and the merge will be on hold. So we're doing our due diligence to make sure we're prepared. And so just when you think like, well, Jim, why are you telling us this? We're Mount Anthony, we're independent. One of the things that did not happen because of this delay, Pownell's vote that caused the delay, the default articles of agreement, which has been a point of contention, that gives 2 representatives regardless of the size of your town to this new elementary school district. Everybody gets 2 regardless of how big you are. We missed the deadline to amend those. The deadline to amend those would have been February 28th, and the forming boards will not be able to have a meeting as a new board in time to warn a vote for February 28th. So that doesn't mean that those default articles are there forever, and this is the key point for everyone. So there's always a possibility of a citizen's petition signed by 5% of the voters to change the governance structure. Governance structure, which means could be back on the table, a vote to go back and merge Mount Anthony and the elementary district back into one, which is something that I've been hearing a little of because with Arlington coming in, what their grade structure is pre-K through 12, so that aligns grade structure. Someone could petition that's one possibility. The other is to not have a hybrid board, which what this board is. It could be a proportional board. Someone could make a petition going for a regional board, which is how the CDC is. And there's probably options that I'm not even thinking of. So, change could come. The other thing that I'll end with is you may want to go to the AOE website if you're looking for something to read late at night. It came out January 11th. Designing Our Future, a blueprint for transforming Vermont's educational system. So the governor put together a team made up of the Secretaries of Commerce and Community Development, Digital Services, Education, Human Services, the Commissioner of Labor, and the staff of the governor's office to come, basically a think tank of how do we re-envision education in Vermont going forward because of the pressures of declining enrollment and rising expenses. And so this document that came out on January 11th, if you think changes, Act 46 changed things, this is calling for 4 quadrants in the state of Vermont. So 4 superintendents, 4 large school districts, 4 school boards statewide, all answering to the Secretary of Education, who answers to the governor. And it's a southern region board. So maybe not in my lifetime, maybe not yours, but it's about 32 pages. It's on the Agency of Education website. It's labeled draft, but caution, this is how a lot of things start. So just those who think they might have survived the Act 46 merger things, there's more things on the back burner, as they would say.
Jim, what about the budget voting for them? If there is a consolidation of the things, then that budget would have to be prepared and warned at the proper time.
It's going to be a very tight time schedule. So this new elementary board, they will not be able to warn a budget by the March town meeting.
Right.
So if we meet on, there isn't an injunction and they meet on February 26th, then the first order of business for this board, this transitional board, is to warn a vote for the initial members of the board. And that warning has to be for 30 to 45 days, which means that election won't happen until the end of March at the earliest, possibly even early April. And then when that initial board is impaneled, their first task is going to be to warn a budget, which again needs to be warned for 30 to 45 days, which means the new unified elementary school district budget will not be warned and voted on by the public to early May. So we will not have an elementary budget till early May. And, but, as I said, we're going down that parallel path of planning to warn individual budgets just in case that injunction is warned, so.
Yeah,
Can you
Amy?
talk a bit about where we are, I can't remember where we are on the representative structure of the new SU
So,
coming,
coming here, yeah.
the 3 from,
Arlington and
as opposed to
Sandgate.
2, yeah.
So we,
Can you refresh
yeah.
the background?
If we go way back to up until February of 2013, the SU board was made up of 3 members from every community that belongs to the SU. Because the state law is if you're an operating school district, you get 3 seats on that board and 1 seat if you're a non-operating school district. I wasn't here at the time, but my understanding was they always had difficulty getting a quorum, so they petitioned the state board to amend and give them permission to have only 2 with 1 alternate, and the state board approved in February of 2013, and that's how we ended up with that structure. So every town that's made up in the SU has 2, or every board rather has 2. So in November, when the state board gave us Arlington and Sandgate starting in July of 2021, they said 3 and 1, because the law says 3 or 1. The state board would have to vote to allow an alternative. So we sent a letter off to the state board saying, you have to reduce them to 2 to mirror what happened to all our towns in February 2013. The answer is probably no, they won't. We have since withdrawn that. Why they won't is, in the meantime, there's a couple of things at play. If the unified elementary district does form, they're a new school district, they would get 3 seats to the SU. And Mount Anthony only has 2 seats to the SU because that's what that agreement from 2013 says. And North Bennington, because they're not non-operating, gets 1. So if the merger went through, on July 1, we'd have a board of 6, an SU board of 6, 3 from the new district, 2 and 1. So what we determined that, why we withdrew from the state board our application for a change is we determined what may have to happen is we are going to petition them to put Mount Anthony back to 3. And so when July of 2021, when Arlington and Sandgate come in, the SU would be 11. 3 from Arlington, 3 from MAU, 3 from the new elementary district, 1 from Sandgate, 1 from North Bennington. And be 11, which is what the SU board is
And
now.
how likely do you foresee problems with MAU getting back to 3?
No, I don't think so. The state board voted, they're not, we would argue, and I think it wouldn't be much of an argument if every new board coming in is 3. I mean, it could be that we argue that everybody goes back to 2 and the board would be then 7, but,
Yeah.
that, okay.
So you're not too concerned about that?
We anticipate, when we withdrew, that our letter was on the agenda for the December state board meeting. We withdrew it once we looked at what may happen. So we told them that we anticipate coming back to their March, no later than their March meeting, asking them to address the issue of membership to the SU.
Okay, great, thank you.
There are still a number of questions concerning the assimilation of the SVSU with the Arlington district. I mean, there are a lot of questions that haven't really been addressed. So
I'll be meeting for the first time on the 28th of this month
Right.
with the Arlington superintendent, their board chair, our board chair, myself, to start those conversations about what this marriage will look like. And it's not a merger, because their grades are aligned differently than ours. It's not a merger. Arlington keeps their board, Sandgate keeps their board, but they get representation on the SU. Because the current law doesn't allow school districts that don't have the same grade alignment to merge.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, we'll go to other.
Just a comment. I noticed Eric Karen, the lead guidance counselor, is retiring. And under the last principal we had, she discovered in the records that there had been a number of years since there was an evaluation of the guidance department, and her solution was to make Mr. Karen a part-time administrator who could actually conduct the evaluations. And now that he's retiring, perhaps we need to look at that position as an administrative position to solve that
He did
issue.
not become an administrator, and he was not doing evaluations, because he
Right.
still remained a member of the bargaining unit, so. That could be a proposal that we look at. I can meet with the high school principal and see if that would be a recommendation that he would support and how he would like to design. There's always an opportunity, as you say, when somebody resigns, that retires, that we look at, do we feel it the same way? Do we do something different?
Right,
So-
and that's all I'm suggesting, is that we take a look at
I think the principal
whether or
is
not
hearing that suggestion, and I think we will look in advance.
We'll look into that suggestion.
I'm just here to make more work for you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Anything from food service or agriculture or any of those things?
No, I just wanted to add that I just remembered that field study presentations are tomorrow. I think I went to a couple last year and it was really interesting and good to see the kids.
Food. You always see.
I believe food service has a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's on my
yeah, they're meeting
calendar.
tomorrow.
Okay, very good. If there are no other questions, entertain a motion to go into executive session for an arbitration and mediation.
So moved.
We will reconvene for action, possible action.
Very good. All those in favor? Aye. To the open session?
So moved, second.
Oh, aye.
Let Richard make some, so Fran moved to come out, and who was the second?
Yeah. And did you get about going back into open session, Richard?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion that I'd like to present. I move to approve the agreement as proposed by the SVSU attorney.
So moved.
A second to it?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Very good, thank you.